Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for your patience so far this semester. I don't think makes like the third recorded video that we've done so far. Um, no idea what conditions are like today if we were missing class anyway. This is much earlier for me, but as I mentioned in class on Friday, this is our lecture for Monday. Friday, we should have lectured through the integumentary system right up to this point right here, accessory structures of the skin. I'm going to finish out the integumentary system for us in this recorded lecture. Should be pretty short here. And when we come back on Wednesday, all of us together, we'll kind of do a really big recap over all the chapters we've covered so far. And then we are into bones, and that is down to our last two lectures, last two chapters anyway, before exam number one. So anyway, integumentary system. We've been talking about it for a little bit here. I've led you right up to these accessory structures. And look, this is kind of misleading here. It's true, anatomical structures of the skin do include hair and nails and the glands as well. What's misleading is that we just don't really have time to get into hair and nails and all these cool little parts. They're really, really neat. We just don't have time to get into it. So instead, I'm just going to focus in on your glands, right? Accessory glands of the skin, and we're going to talk about four of them to be more specific. So let's jump right into those. Skin glands. We're going to talk about two predominant glands here of the skin. The first one being your sebaceous glands. Your sebaceous glands. Funny word here, but that prefix is really what's important in trying to point you to what it secretes. So sebaceous glands secrete sebum. What is sebum? Well, as we can see up here, they're oil glands. Oil glands of the skin, or sebum. I think we all know this if you go without showering, or honestly, even when we, go with showering or whatever. There's times where you can touch your skin, you can feel your hair, and it feels oily. Now, we see it more and more the longer we go without showering. But sometimes you put your head down, like on a desk, maybe especially if it's really dark, and you pick it up again, there's that like oil stain, there's an oil slick right where your head was. That that's sebum. That's the oil, and that's great. You need that. You want that. It's really, really great, right? We want sebum on our skin. These sebaceous glands secreting sebum oil are typically attached to hair follicles. That's not just the hairs on your head, but the hairs all over your body. As we talked about, there's hairs all over your body. So we secrete this lipid, oily substance all over our body. So why is it? Why do we secrete oil? Why do we have so much of it? Why is it all throughout the body? It prevents us from dehydrating. It prevents us from dehydrating. And that's a real threat to our, not necessarily our life, but to homeostasis. We oftentimes are not consuming near enough water. We've seen how important water is. We've seen how it moves and goes wherever the solutes are. So if we're running out of water, we can do ways to conserve it and protect it. We lose a lot of water through our skin, so we lay down sebum or oil over it, and it helps seal up a lot of those pores and prevents our hair and skin and so on and so forth from dehydrating. It also, as you can see here, prevents bacteria growth and all that good kind of stuff too. But just know, gland number one, sebaceous glands. What does it secrete? Sebum or oil. What's its purpose? Preventing dehydration, right? That's what I'm really looking for you guys to understand from these. All right, let's change gears here, do a different color. Number two of four. I think I mentioned we're going to do four different glands. Sudiferous glands. Why the hell we have to come up with these different names? I get it, but sebaceous glands, sebum. Sudiferous glands are different. They secrete sweat. Sudiferous glands secrete sweat, or mostly water. You're not going to believe me when I tell you one of these things that's actually still coming out of it, but for now, water. They prevent dehydration, or sorry, they prevent thermoregulation or over thermoregulation or whatever, overheating. They help regulate our body temperature, right? They aid in cooling. Now, there's two different types of sudiferous glands. I know. I wish it was just easier and we could just do, sudiferous glands, but there are two types. There are eccrine glands, and then number two, or letter B as we're putting here, apocrine. Apocrine. So eccrine and apocrine. Now, technically, there's actually three. There's holocrine glands as well, but we're just going to stop there at two. Sudiferous glands are sweat glands, but not all sweat glands are the same. Most of your body produces eccrine. Eccrine sweat or eccrine glands produce eccrine sweat. This is your thermoregulation, right? Production here. This is you're working out at the SRC and you're overdoing it or whatever. Your core body temperature gets above that 98.6. We put water onto the surface of our skin. What part of our skin? Well, it implies here all over. We sweat all over. When we sweat all over our body, then the heat from our blood attaches itself or it migrates or it moves towards, right, that fluid. And then when air moves across our body, it carries the water vapor or the moisture, or the humidity away, carrying the heat with it. And so that thermoregulates us, help us regulate our body temperature. But the more interesting ones here, apocrine or apocrine, whatever you prefer that, I don't really care. Apocrine are more rare. They're only really found, as you can see here, armpits and groins. Armpits and groins. They don't just, and I'm trying to stress that here, they don't just produce sweat because they do sweat. We know this. We obviously sweat from our armpits. We obviously sweat from our, groin region, whatever you want to call it and refer to it there. We know that. We sweat from those areas, right? Because those areas also contain heat. And we're trying to get heat away from those areas. But I think we also know we secrete something a little bit different from those areas too. How do we know that? Because, well, because it's on the slide, mucus, lipid, and portions of protein secretions. Now, how do we actually know this? Why are we talking about this? Well, next time you're at the SRC, you're working out really hard, you're good and sweaty, right? I think we all know, like, ooh, we're gross, we smell or whatever. We do smell, but it's not from where you think we smell. Take your arm next time you're there, covered in sweat, whatever it is, just pull your arm up towards your face, smell your arm. It doesn't smell. Eccrine glands don't smell. Your forehead doesn't smell. Your whatever, your arm, your leg, those are all eccrine glands. They're just producing sweat, which is, again, mostly just water. Mostly just water, right? But you do smell. You're right about that. You definitely smell. Lift up your arm during that workout and smell where your apocrine glands are. Your armpit. Well, let's just stop there. Just smell your armpit. Don't try to smell your groin in public. But it smells. It smells. Why does it smell? Because yes, there's sweat. Yes, there's the water secretions, but there's also this mucus and lipid and protein secretions as well. And those are what give that odor that we smell. Now, let's go back though really quick to these eccrine because I said it's mostly water, and I was sort of leading you on that there was going to be something coming extra. And here's the extra thing, right? Eccrine secretions, sweat isn't just water. How do we know this? Have you ever gotten sweat in your eyes? Or have you ever gotten sweat in your mouth? The answer is yes. And some of you, like when we're in class, you're like, ooh, gross. Like, go be active more. Like you need to be sweating. If you don't get sweat in your eyes and you don't get sweat in your mouth, you should really be moving more often, right? But we know that when we get those things in. So it's not just water. There's salts in there. And it's not just salts, it's actually nitrogenous waste. And where else do we secrete nitrogenous waste in a similar form? Your urine. That's right. We are urinating right out of our faces. Now, don't get me wrong here. Don't run off and tell everyone like, oh, you pee out of your face. It's sort of, you kind of do. You do secrete nitrogenous waste and water. That's exactly what urine is, plus a few other things, whatever. But it's not nearly as concentrated, or it shouldn't be anyway, if you're drinking adequate water and that kind of stuff. But the reason why it's salty and it burns and stings or whatever, it's because there's nitrogenous waste in there and some urine secretions in there as well. Urine is way more concentrated. It's way grosser. Don't pee on yourself and be like, it's okay. It's just sweat. There is a difference there. But anyway, let's go on. Sebaceous glands secrete oil. Sudiferous glands secrete sweat. But before we move off these sudiferous glands, since we're talking about sweating all over our body and most of it actually not having a smell or being gross in any real way, only having sweat glands or apocrine sweat glands in our armpits and groin, this is the question that I always get. I always get this question of like, okay, then like, do we need to shower? What's it like? And the honest answer is Yes, you do need to shower. You definitely should shower, whatever. But we are doing it wrong, the vast majority of us. Why? Because you're watching TV. You're watching TV, right? Think about it. If you are a company that sells, well, let's go with deodorant and soap, right? You're a company that sells deodorant and soap. You are maxed out. Everyone is now using deodorant and soap. Well, I mean, almost everyone. Everyone who is going to use deodorant and going to use soap is using it. They've come out with every brand, every flavor, every smell. I don't know about flavor. That was the wrong word there, but you get the idea. Like they've run out of ideas. So what's the only option to make more money? Because that's obviously the option, right? It's capitalist America. You have to make as much money as possible. What's the only possible option? To use more of it in more places. And you are now seeing advertisements trying to convince you to put deodorant on parts of your body that have no reason to have deodorant. Why do you not need to spray deodorant onto your body, all over your body? Why? Because check it out. What is your body mostly covered in? It's mostly covered in eccrine sweat glands that only secrete water and some nitrogenous waste. And you know what? Get in the shower, please get in the shower and just rinse it off. And it washes off, right? How should we be showering? You only really need to use soap, not all over your body, not lathered up so thick you can't even see yourself, right? Just your armpits and groins, really, for the most part. Some people, some dermatologists, like if you got smelly feet, wash your feet. For face, you should be using other things. For women specifically, for your genitalia, and you should really be using different things that are a different pH because it's a very different environment there. But really, the point being here, stop it. Cut it out. Save yourself some money, right? Don't, for the love of God, spray on deodorant. Deodorant for your body is the dumbest thing. You are a complete and total idiot spraying that stuff all over your body. Quit buying it. You don't need it. Don't do that. And then when you're using soap, just, keep it to those areas. Unless you got mud and dirt and bacteria, by all means, wash your hands and wash them with soap and all of that. But, for the rest of your body, you don't have to soap up your entire body. Anyway, we're going places. Here we go. Number three. Number three, we're doing different colors. I don't know why, but I'm going with it. Number three, mammary glands. Pretty easy one here. Mammary glands. You probably didn't know this part. They're actually just modified sweat glands. Gross, I know, but really modified, right? Yes, it's fluid, but it's, you know, obviously nutrients and you part of your immune system as well. And some of you right now already wrote something about women, and you're not wrong. Obviously, women have memory, but so do men. Men have mammary glands too. Ours just don't become active. The vast majority. Some men actually can. It's really, really rare. But yeah, all people, male, female, we all have mammary glands. They just get turned on or activated during pregnancy, fetal development, and then during birth. We'll talk about that with the endocrine system. But for now, you get the idea. Okay. Tired of changing colors. Number four, our last gland we're going to talk about here, ceruminous glands. Ceruminous glands. This one is a little bit more unique and rare. Ceruminous glands secrete cerumen. And really, you could write beside here, I'm not going to do it because I can't spell with these things. But you could put cerumen equals earwax, right? Cerumen is earwax. So ceruminous glands secrete cerumen. That's just earwax. So they're located in your ear. Luckily, someone else found this out for all of us, but apparently it's bitter earwax. I hope you didn't know that before today's lecture. It's also really, really sticky. Now that part I think we all do, and all do understand. But the question is why? Why the hell do we have a gland in our inner ear that's trying to produce bitter, sticky substance? Like it's an annoyance for most of us, right? Anymore. A couple of quick things, and we'll move on from this. The answer to the why question: why do we have them? If anyone has ever gotten something stuck in their ear before, if you've ever had an insect specifically go into your ear, you do not need the answer to this question. You know why. I've been around someone who this has happened to. A pretty large insect went in. Insects are really good at going in forward. They're not good going backwards. So when insects go into your ear, they're really bad about getting stuck and they don't come out. Then they start buzzing around, and the noise apparently can just pretty much drive people insane. They just start screaming and yelling. It's a terrible thing to be around. So we don't want that. How do we prevent that? Your body has this really cool adaptation. It secretes sticky, bitter wax that insects are strongly turned off by. And so it keeps living things from going in your ear. Pretty cool. Right now, as I mentioned, it's an annoyance. And so you try to clean it out and you try to clean it out all the time. You should not. And check this out. That's not me trying to be, Debbie Downer here and be like, quit digging in your ears. But check it out. Next time you get out of the shower and you go to put one of those things in your ear, Q-tip, whatever, before you do, flip over the box and the Q-tip people will tell you, do not stick this thing in your ear. Even the people who make it are telling you to stop doing that. Ear, throat, whatever doctor specialist will tell you they're constantly seeing people. You are typically either compacting the earwax and creating problems, or you are going too deep. And that tympanic membrane that we're going to talk about later in the semester, what we would call the eardrum, very, very easy to scratch, to break, and to infect, especially behind it. And so stop it. Cut it out. I don't know why. Today is like all your hygiene things, you're doing them wrong. Cut them out. So there they are. There's sebaceous gland, sebum, ceruminous gland, sudiferous glands, sweat, mammary glands, ceruminous glands, and yeah, that is disgusting. Quit that. Okay, functions of the skin, and we'll wrap this thing up here. Functions of the skin include, well, I'll start with this by saying normally we do functions at the very beginning of all your other organ systems. And normally it's just like, check it out. It does a couple of really cool things. For skin, though, it's so diverse how many things it does. We're actually going to do multiple slides, and I put it here at the end. Yes, your skin protects you. But that's not enough just to say, cool, skin protects, done, move, go, right? How does it protect? Number one, it provides a physical barrier. Now that part's easy. We're good on that part, right? It creates this physical barrier. It keeps things both out of our body, but it also keeps things in, right? It's waterproof and holds all the proteins and fluids and solutes, and you get the idea. It's all there. Hair is a good physical barrier. It keeps things out of your eyes. It keeps things out of your genitalia. We've got lots of physical barriers. So cool. That's the easy one. What you may not have understood or appreciated as well is it's a biological barrier as well. It's a huge part of your immune system. In fact, this is oftentimes the first barrier, the first line of defense for your immune system. DNA absorption via the melanocyte secretions we talked about on Friday. Great biological barrier, right? So yes, a strong physical barrier, not letting things in or out, but things that can penetrate the skin, right? Like bacteria or DNA. There's also a biological protection for things that make it past that first physical layer. Then there's a really cool chemical layer. These are our skin secretions. Now, as mentioned, you probably didn't believe me before again, but your skin doesn't just secrete water in the form of sweat. It also secretes these acidic things for multiple reasons. If you have high levels of nitrogen, you can get rid of those in the waste. But we also secrete some of these acidic secretions out on our skin to prevent bacteria from growing. You may not appreciate that. Here in the first world, our current environment, you're just like, yeah, whatever. We don't really need that because obviously, you just told us we shower way too much and we use way too many things. But for those of you maybe who've lived in other parts of the world, I lived in a tent for 6 months in the rainforest at one point in my life. Don't recommend it. But if you want to go do it, go do it. Things start growing on you, like fungi and bacteria, different types of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll think of it here. So lichen and things like some of those things can actually start growing on you. Even if you're trying to wash in streams and stuff like that, it's so humid. It's so wet. You've got secretions. And so other people who live in other parts of the world really appreciate these acidic secretions that prevent those things from growing on your body. Cool, huh? Okay, so don't just tell me like, oh, what does the skin do? Oh, protection. What do you mean protection? Give me an example of physical, give me an example of biological, give me an example of chemical. Make sure you've got at least one good example of each one of those. And we're not done, right? That was just our first function. Function number two, what is our skin doing for us? It thermoregulates. It regulates your body's temperature. And you may be like, I guess I didn't know. Like, I thought maybe the heart helped it. And you're right, thermoregulation doesn't just start and stop here. Other body systems also contribute, but here's how your skin can do it. Multiple ways. We've already given you one, I've given you one, evaporative sweat, right? What's the name of those glands that release sweat? Yes, sudiferous glands, right? And then there's two types, eccrine and apocrine, and both of them secrete sweat, so either one's fine here. But that's one way. It releases water, water carries the heat away. But another really cool way is those blood vessels we talked about as part of the dermal and hypodermal layers. They have the ability to dilate and constrict. So vaso, if we were in person together and I could write better, I would do some terminology for you. But that prefix there, vaso equals vessel, specifically blood vessel. So the term vasodilation means when your blood vessels dilate or open up. And then vasoconstriction is when your blood vessels will constrict or shrink down. Why do we do that? When do we do that? Well, today was probably like 2 degrees because that's what it's been every day for as long as I can remember. And if you went outside, you don't want the blood vessels near the surface to be dilated or opened up. When you get really, really cold, especially if you get really like dangerously cold, you can see it on people. Their blood vessels near the surface will constrict so hard and limit so much blood flow to the surface. Your skin actually changes, like we talked about before on Friday. Conversely, go run the stairs a ton of times, or go back over to the SRC while you're smelling your arm and hopefully not your groin. While you're over there doing those things, go look at your skin. Now, obviously, for Caucasian, white folks, whatever, it's easier to see, right? Our skin can get really, really red and blotchy. That's vasodilation near the surface, right? And you're vasoconstricting near your heart and lungs to try to get heat away from those organs. Anyway, your skin does a lot of really cool things. Sensory receptors. Now, let's just go with sensory receptors. And I'm not going to make you know all these. So kudos to you for watching the lecture today. You do not have to know all these different examples, right? I will probably give you a random, I'm trying to think, right? So quiz question might be something like, which major organ system might have things like pain receptors, nociceptors, thermoreceptors, mechanoreceptors, as well as providing, physical, biological, and chemical protection for our body, something like that. So you're going to see these terms come up. You're going to see these functions or whatever come up. I just want you to know your skin has many, many, many types of receptors. Now let's nerd out for a really quick second. Meissners are cool. They're right in the epidermis. Notice this, the only receptor in the epidermis. It's so sensitive, right? That just take your finger and try your best to touch your skin as light as possible. And you know when you make contact. You know when your finger pulls away and then goes back again, right? That's your Meissner corpuscle. And then now press the skin and push a little bit harder. Now you're on a pressure receptor, Merkel cells and things like that. Push as hard as you possibly can. Now you're feeling a nociceptor. They're even deeper, right? Now, if you were to take that and heat it up and your hands are cold and it's a thermo, you get the idea. There's lots of different. But here's what's really, really cool. I read this once and I'm just gonna do this really quick. You've got a shovel in your hand, metal shovel. You're about to dig. You're digging through sand. When you push the shovel into the sand, you're using multiple different receptors. You can feel these things, but your ability to feel the granules of sand through the shovel, they come through on your Meissner corpuscles. Think about that for a second. Come on. You put a shovel in the sand and you can feel the metal pushing through the sand particles on your Meissner corpuscles. That's wild. That's so good. Anyway, loads of receptors. We'll talk about more of them in the nervous system, but you just need to know part of the function, one of the functions of your skin, sensory receptors. Okay, we'll rattle these off really quick, but nutrition folks, you're going to wish I would have spent more time on this one. Your skin metabolizes for you as well. It plays a role in metabolism. Now, you may or may not know this. When you consume vitamin D, good job, excellent. You should do that. We need lots of vitamin D, right? When you consume it, though, in a whole foods and many supplements, it's unusable. You cannot use it. it is useless to your body. I'm going to go back on the useless part, but it's an unusable form unless if the vitamin D gets into your blood and your blood then carries it and it vasodilates up here, the surface of your skin. When UV radiation strikes your skin and goes through your skin and hits that vitamin D in your tissues, it converts it to a usable form of vitamin D, then gets stored away, packed away, reabsorbed, and utilized in different places, especially like your bones. Pretty stinking cool, huh? You need your skin to make vitamin D viable and useful for your body. That's a good one. As mentioned, blood reservoir before, we hold a lot of blood. I mean, 5% of your blood is no small thing. We know this, though, if you've seen someone pass out before. When you pass out, you pull all the blood in your body, or most of the blood in your body, towards your vital organs. You'll see people go really pale right before they pass out. Similar if you see somebody who's about to overheat dramatically, you can move blood in multiple different directions so your skin can hold blood for you. And there it is. If you didn't believe me, you do excrete. Check this out though, limited amounts, limited. We're not pumping out full on urine out of our face. Don't stress. We're not doing those levels of nitrogenous waste, but you do secrete. So how do you want to, put less urine-like stuff through your face glands? Well, eat better. Legitimately, right? If you are drinking adequate amounts of water and you are consuming less and less processed foods, which are what a big part of our nitrogenous waste and things like that are coming from, you have less of these byproducts to secrete out. So there's a reason why doctors talk, dermatologists will talk to you about if you want healthy skin, you have to improve your diet. Can be a big part of the reason why as well. So there they are, functions of the skin, protection, yes, receptors and thermoregulation and metabolism and blood reservoir. And excretion. It's not enough just to say, oh, skin's really cool. It does some neat things. Give me some specific examples of these things and what they do for us. Okay, that's all I got for you guys in this recorded lecture. I told you to keep it pretty short for today's. I hope everybody's doing great and, back to it and whatever. But I'll be back on Wednesday. We'll be back in person, I hope. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. Have a good one.